Alexa, a math instructor, falls in love with astrophysics teacher while working at a university in St. Petersburg. Maximilian when she discovers him gazing at the heavens and on the verge of freezing to death. Soon the couple marries and has a female child named Jupiter by Alexa after their union. Even though Alexa abhors it, a bunch of burglars breaks into their residence one night and robs them. Maximilian tries to convince the thieves to at least leave his cherished telescope, but they respond by he was shot, and they took off with their booty. Alexa, who is lonely and depressed, decides to go with taking a ship to the USA and visiting her relatives in Chicago. The infant is in the middle of the journey. Alika gives her the name Jupiter in honor of her late husband. Jupiter's aunt explains to her when she gets older, she is destined for greatness and to discover genuine love. Yet, a grown-up Jupiter believes her years later. Life is awful. She can only work as a cleaning lady because she is an immigrant's daughter. She also had to share a small home with a large family and work for wealthy people. She never genuinely being private. While everything was going on, the three brothers and sisters from the great house of Abrasax finally get together. The family harvests, therefore the world is empty, making a medicine that keeps them youthful with folks from many cultures. Lately, their mother passed away and left some planets for each of them. Balaam, the oldest, was the one who received them. Titus, the youngest, wants to purchase Earth. Kalik notes that the cost of living on Earth is exorbitant. As Balaam walks away silently, the following day, a hunter by the name of Cain shows up in the streets. Razzo, Ibis, and Fark, three bounty hunters, notice the resident of Chicago. The group witnesses Cain utilize a unique. None of them are from Earth, as shown by their use of a device to get through a door. They know Cain is out hunting, determine that he is the same victim as them and follow him. Cain has broken into a medical facility, and he is using his extensive medical knowledge to review the profile of a patient named Catherine. Using one's sense of scent as a search tool, he finds the group waiting for him when he exits. Cain then turns on his floating boots and flees. To stop him, the trio starts shooting. But after exchanging gunfire, Cain is able to flee, and Razzo advises her partners to follow suit. Balaam, their boss, beware. Kalik converses with her staff in the interim because she wants to be involved. She is aware of the hunt on Earth as well, but she does not want her boys to be aware of it. Balaam is speaking as well to his minions, and when he learns that they have discovered a unique gene print in Catherine, he issues directives. Gonna murder her. This Catherine individual proves to be a close companion of Jupiter. Today, she is assisting her. Jupiter is in the closet trying to find a dress when she hears Catherine screaming. She looks and sees, as Catherine's floating body is going to be modified by a gang of grey aliens, she finds them. Jupiter then uses her phone to snap a photo. Her phone calls at that time, attracting the attention of the aliens. Knock both humans unconscious right away. The women awaken without the guys a moment later. Jupiter reflects on what transpired as she has dinner with her family and her cousin Vasily in the evening. Assign everyone their upcoming housekeeping duties. Jupiter requests a loan because she needs money, dreaming of owning a telescope like her father's, but Vasily advises her to save up for one own. Later, in secret, cousin Vlady persuades Jupiter to sell her eggs in exchange for cash, and he receives a portion of the sales proceeds. The following day, Jupiter uses Catherine's name to visit the clinic. When playing around on her phone, she discovers the extraterrestrial photo she took prior to her doing. The doctor summons her to the operating room before doing anything about it. When the nurses prepare her, Jupiter senses something is off and tries to exit, but her body starts to float out of control. They scan her DNA and determine she is the alien, and the entire team is also aliens. One has a unique gene print. The mixed names were the source of the confusion. These aliens want to kill her, but Cain arrives just then and shoots everyone before saving Jupiter, who collapses. In the meantime, Titus learns in a spaceship that his hunter has located the girl. He sends a vehicle to take her up as a result. Balaam is informed of the clinic incident as well, and frantically gives the order for the security deployment to be doubled. After 12 hours, Jupiter grabs Cain's revolver to demand explanations after waking up in an unfamiliar room. Cain clarifies. He is a half-human illustration of the variety of life that exists in the universe, which includes many other worlds. Military attempt to breed a half-wolf that didn't work out. The lone grey men are known as keepers, who seek to kill her due to her unique genetic makeup. To support his claims, Cain demonstrates to Jupiter his floating boots and a device that opens portals in walls. That instant, after a beam is sent their way by Titus' spacecraft, Cain chooses Jupiter as his course and flies there. Unfortunately, moreover, Balaam's ships show up and cause Titus' ship to explode. The two fall as a result of the explosion. But Cain reacts fast and intercepts Jupiter before he can take off. A pursuit starts through. Chicago is hit by a number of cars and structures as the enemy ships fire upon Cain. Cain does. He led them to a bridge where he concealed a stolen enemy shuttle. They are now secure inside. Cain can retaliate and, if necessary, submerge himself underwater thanks to this spacecraft. He is a skilled pilot. However, the shuttle sustains significant damage and Cain must exit with Jupiter. It blows up. At least the boots ensure a safe landing. The following day, Cain steals a vehicle and tacks Jupiter along while she presses for additional information. Cain describes them as entangled in a conflict inside the Abrasax family, one of the universe's most mighty families. In fact, they are so strong that they have already begun to reconstruct all the areas that their battle destroyed. And the Keepers will purge everyone's memory, just like they recently did to Juniper. Cain alone. Jupiter is aware that Balaam wants her dead and that Titus wants to take her aboard his ship. In relation to Balaam, he tells Jupiter that after using a hologram to examine the Keeper's memory of the clinic event, he misses her occasionally. He then reminds his guards that anyone who makes another threat would be killed. Mistake. A short while later, Jupiter and Cain reach Stinger's residence, a friend of Cain's. Stinger used to work as a marshal for the Aegis, a group of space police. As Stinger starts assaulting Cain as soon as he sees him since he doesn't want to be drawn back into the former him. Jupiter is suddenly surrounded by a swarm of bees, breaking up the fight. Following the motion of her hands, Stinger sees this and falls to his knees and refers to Jupiter as Your Majesty since bees can identify monarchy. So everyone is. Stinger treats Cain's wounds with an immediate spray after being invited inside, exposing Cain. Had wings, but when he was court-martialed, he lost them. The lady calls Jupiter from a distance. And as she accepts it, Cain tells Stinger that Titus was the only one who was aware of her royal status. I assured him I'd pay him in new wings. Later, Stinger explains he was able to get in touch with the Aegis, and they'll be picked up by them tomorrow. As Cain equips himself with Stinger's arsenal of weapons, Stinger informs Jupiter that Cain was court-martialed for biting a high-ranking official. Stinger was also let go because Cain had been under his supervision at the time. Also informed is Jupiter that humans are not native to Earth and that all the dinosaurs were wiped off by the Abrasax industry and populated the globe with humans who would someday be harvested. Juniper must first ask what harvesting. Cain tells them that a group of bounty hunters and numerous keepers are outside. Cain remains. Stinger rushes after Jupiter while he fights with both pistols and his fists, but he needs to start firing as well as when they are encircled. Singer is pushed back by a shockwave when Fark discovers them and finds them, but when the bees defend Jupiter when he tries to capture her. Running into the nearby cornfield, Jupiter. Fark, though, overtakes her and delivers another shockwave to put her out. The keepers move closer. Jupiter was about to murder her when Razzo and Ibis arrived and turned on Fark, murdering him. Before boarding Jupiter in their ship, and the keepers, Cain dispatches his adversaries and rushes. Escape the house barely in time to covertly board the ship. After some time, the hunters. When the ship reaches an alien city, Cain leaps off before anyone can see him. Traders are hunters. Jupiter to Calic's citizens, who receive a higher wage than Balaam. Jupiter awakens to discover herself in a costume inside a bizarre setting. When Calic visits her, she is amazed by how much Jupiter has grown. Similar to her late mother. As evidence for her claim, Calic brings Jupiter to see a monument that showing that Jupiter is the reincarnation of Calic's mother, who had been precisely like her. 90,000 years old when she was killed. When Cain enters the estate covertly and uses his nose as a guide, the guards discover him while searching for Jupiter, and he battles them in the hallways. Calic displays. Jupiter has a special pool with water that, despite the fact that she is actually 14, makes her look young. 1004. The siblings produce this potion by harvesting life, but Calic doesn't state it outright. She informs Jupiter that since Earth was owned by her mother and Jupiter was, she can take ownership of the planet and participate in the abundant existence if she reincarnates. Their discussion. Jupiter is interrupted by Cain, who tries to remove him, but Jupiter believes in Calic and agrees to stay. Watch for the arrival of the Aegis. Balaam murders the general who was unable to capture Jupiter in the interim. Gregan, a fresh soldier, is sent to pursue her once more. After a brief interval, Aegis Captain Stinger and Zing arrive, and Zing offers to accompany Jupiter to the Commonwealth Ministry on their Horus. Cain checks on Jupiter after she dons more comfortable clothing, and the two of them share a lovely moment. A time of unity. Cain rejects Jupiter's advances since she is a member of the royal family and he is merely a dog. The ship eventually reaches Horus, the planet where the first people were created. And Jupiter is led by an android through numerous offices and a ton of tedious paperwork. Laborious and virtually impossible to complete. The robot ultimately resorts to bribery to do it more swiftly. Jupiter, a worker, is ultimately given a seal on her wrist designating her as royalty. Afterward, Cain responds to Jupiter's question on Cain's continued presence after all is over by explaining Stinger feels that if they assist her, they might be admitted back into the Force. Sadly, when Stinger appears, he wakes up, is surrounded by bounty hunters, and turns against Cain after making a deal with Titus. Later, Titus encounters Jupiter in a different spacecraft where he makes a pledge to her. She must agree to join him for supper in order for him to transport her back to Earth. However, Titus's guards put Cain behind bars. Jupiter inquires about Cain during dinner, and Titus replies that he sent him back his home country. Finally, he informs Jupiter that the young man lied to her and adds that Calic did so. Human life are used to create the potion. Titus reveals his stash of medicine bottles and tells her about his mother decided against harvesting and intended to close the business, which is why she was killed. Titus claims he never created potions and that he simply saved these bottles for this reason. He plans to accomplish his mother's objectives. As Titus begs her to marry him, Jupiter still has faith in him. She hesitates to join forces with them to fight his siblings. Stinger initiates contact in the interim with Titus guards to complete their transaction. Stinger was apprehended, it is revealed after they hang up, by Zing, and that she forced him to make the call to find the ship. When Cain visits Titus and rips him out for lying to him, Titus responds that it's just survival, not a choice. He intends to murder her after marrying Jupiter in order to take Earth for himself. Cain is shot at that precise time. As retribution for his treachery, he is sent into space. On the way out, he manages to kick something. The divider. Cain then breaks the restraints with his boots and takes some wall rubble, which appears to be protective equipment. However, the ship escapes and he is unable to return to it by way of a portal. Cain thinks of Jupiter as the oxygen in the gear is running low. He believes he is about to die, but happily the Aegis arrives in time to save him. He urges the crew to save Jupiter and requests Stinger's assistance, thus Stinger obtains the opportunity to explain that he only betrayed them in exchange for Titus' pledge to heal his daughter. Otherwise, he supports Aegis. Jupiter's family yells in concern from back on Earth. Blasts Vladi for letting a dubious clinic win her over. At that point, Gregan succeeds the ceiling and catches every one of them. Afterwards, Jupiter admits she's not sure about the wedding, requesting to see Cain. Titus informs her that Cain fled because he once more attacked people before highlighting the marriage is merely a contract to safeguard the defenseless. He also demonstrates to her his preparation. Cain was granted a right of pardon, but he chose not to use it. Persuaded by Titus, Jupiter agrees to marry him with good intentions. A short while later, Jupiter is placed in a lovely worn and brought to the event. Titus' fleet surrounds the ship outside to protect it from the attack coming from Aegis. Cain and Stinger continue to be superb pilots and engage in furious combat. Jupiter hesitates at the altar, fighting against the enemy. She hardly gets through her vows and tries to withdraw her hand as a symbolic ring is going to be imprinted on her finger. Here's the battle's sounds. Titus tries to shove her hand back into position, but at that instant, Titus tells Jupiter the truth as Cain enters the room and points a gun at him. He desires to. Jupiter simply requests that he take her away rather than kill Titus. Jupiter is removed by the Aegis ship, and she seizes the opportunity to grant Cain the pardon she swindled from Titus. Cain wants to get close to her. Jupiter wants nothing more to do with this, though. They arrive on Earth shortly after that and Jupiter discovers the devastation of her house. Gregan and some of Balaam's men are also present. If Jupiter doesn't want to abdicate her title with them, they will explain why. To pass away as a family. Jupiter agrees to go even though Zing and Cain believe it to be a trap. Jupiter is no more. While Zing and Cain attempt to pursue them aboard the Aegis ship, Gregan flees in his spacecraft. Gregan's craft passes the portal, but they close it as soon as it does so that the police unable to follow them. Before they are engulfed in a hazardous situation, Zing needs to rapidly turn the ship around. Storm. Cain is hesitant to take action because of the storm that is engulfing Balaam's domain, but Stinger arrives and offers him a moving speech about how much Jupiter means to him. Wanting his own pack with all his heart, Cain chooses to visit the planet by himself. Storm and landing have harmed his shuttle. Inevitably results in a severe crash, damaging the gravity hull as it descends. At Balaam's realm, Balaam slaps Jupiter as she confronts him and accuses him of killing his mother. Then, Gregan is forced by Balaam to almost kill Alexa, only Jupiter's agreement to sign the surrender in order to save her mother. But as she prepares to sign, she understands Balaam will reap soon Earth, and she won't give up her family for the sake of millions of others. When that happened, Balaam's men warn Cain of the hull damage, and Cain then unexpectedly enters the palace and attacks Gregan. Balaam is triggered when Jupiter destroys the abdication tablet because she realizes her family will be secure. Aim to murder her. Jupiter instantly kicks him away from her. Balaam, incensed, instructs his guards to. Jupiter is aimed at being killed, but Cain saves her by opening a portal directly underneath her. He conceals her. Before he returns to battle Gregan, Jupiter gives him a kiss while protecting her in a secure area. Then, Jupiter starts to relocate her family while the rest of the world starts to evacuate due to the living there is risky due to the shattered hull. The obstruction opens, enabling the Aegis to maneuver their ship toward them. When she is preoccupied, Balaam attempts to attack Jupiter. Nevertheless, Jupiter stole Cain's gun and shoots him in the legs. The palace starts to collapse from below. The floor beneath Jupiter is destroyed by the impacts of the shattered hull and an explosion, leaving her and Balaam to crumble. Gregan still refuses to give up fighting Cain and flees despite Cain's efforts to save her. Grab him by the tail and drag him out of the building. As Balaam and Jupiter miraculously salvage the day, Cain escapes Gregan's grip by grabbing hold of a damaged railing and continues to battle on his shaky boots. He damages the beast's wings, causing it to fall to the ground. Then, after placing a portal around Gregan's neck, he kills him. After that, Cain enters. Contact Aegis and provide them with his position so they can save every member of Jupiter's crew. Family. Jupiter is attempting to escape in the meantime, but the structure is constantly collapsing. Several times, she comes dangerously close to falling, yet she manages to re-enter the palace. As she arrives, Balaam calls her mother and starts beating her with a metal rod, stating his guilt for killing his mother and that she had begged him to do it because her life was miserable. Jupiter takes the rod and attacks back with her own blows, but she declines to use it because of her beliefs, to murder Balaam. At that point, the structure completely collapses, and Balaam, he dies after he falls. Cain, who dons safety gear, rescues Jupiter after he falls as well. Zing opens a gateway to escape with her ship because there is no more time left. Cain observes. Immediately after saying this, he crosses the portal while also using his boots to avoid all of the flying debris. Everyone is safely back in our solar system a little while later. Later on, Jupiter is back on. She surprises his family by taking a more optimistic approach to things than is typical for her routine attitude. They give her the telescope she sought as an apology for the predicament Lady got her into. Jupiter meets Cain for a date after she finishes work. Jupiter now owns a pair. Cain gets his wings back, and they are floating boots. They kiss and then take off together.